The journey to university is a lot about learning about yourself, your values, and a lot about learning about your financial standing. Your children are becoming adults right now. There's a lot of students that are getting the shock of their life. Tertiary fees are expensive and some students can't afford the tuition fees, let alone the added costs that come with attending a university. And this is especially bad for international students as one, they are required to pay their fees upfront, and two, their fees might actually double at some universities based on the fact that they are non-South African citizens. There are a number of ways to gain funding, such as personal sponsors, crowdfunding, loans, bursaries, and scholarships. In this video, I'm going to be specifically speaking about bursaries and scholarships. So what is the difference between a bursary and a scholarship? Well, a scholarship is a financial award that is given to a student based on their sport or academic excellence, whereas a bursary is a financial award that is given to you based on your financial need. So if you saw my video last week where I was speaking about the mistakes that you need to avoid when doing these applications in this series that I'm calling The Road to University, I mentioned about not doing your research. That's why this video is the first one in this series, because one, it requires you to do an extensive amount of research to be able to find these different bursaries, and two, the applications close earlier than your actual application for university, and three, it requires you to collect a large amount of documentation and references that you're going to require other people to write for you. As a result, you need to give yourself enough time to be able to gather all this documentation so that you're not rushing to get everything organized and on time. So stay tuned till the end of this video, where I'm going to be telling you one, where to actually find these bursaries and scholarships, and two, I'm going to be sharing with you a website that you can actually gather all this information, and it's already collected for you and it's very easy to use. So if you're a student who is looking for a bursary or a scholarship to fund their studies, here is what you need to know. Number one, what does a bursary or a scholarship cover? Well, this is dependent on the company that is funding you. They can either cover all your tuition fees and the added extra costs that come with it, or they can just cover your tuition fees and you have to finance yourself with the added extra things, or they can only pay for a certain amount of your tuition fees. Some bursaries or scholarships actually give you that they'll only pay maximum of, example, 15,000 for the year, and if your fees are higher than that, then you have to find other financing for that. So the added extra costs that your bursary or your scholarship might or might not cover includes your accommodation, your food, your transport, your textbooks, allowance, and that sort of thing. So when you're applying for this funding, usually the transcript will specify what it's going to cover, or once you've been accredited with this funding, then they will stipulate what is going to be covered for you. And please note that some funders or institutions will allow you to only have one bursary. As a result, yes, you might apply to as many as possible, but at the end of the day, you must choose the one that is specific to your situation and will cover as many costs as possible. Number two, so who qualifies to get a bursary or a scholarship? Well, this is dependent on what the scholarship or the bursary is looking for. So when you're doing your research, please make sure that you're reading the insert correctly to determine if you actually qualify to apply for this bursary. Because if something that is very fundamental is missing, they're going to chuck your application away, and you've put in all the hard work to gather your documentation to actually apply for nothing, because they're actually not going to look at it. So I'm going to use an example of the Alan Gray Obus Foundation program, which is currently open and closes on the 29th of April at 5 p.m. So if any of these things resonate with you, please make sure you go down in the description box so that you can find this bursary for yourself so that you can apply. Eligibility requirements are: you must be a South African citizen, 21 years or younger, currently in matric. You must have 60% for pure maths or 80% for maths lit in your grade 11 results. You must have an average of 70%. You must be studying towards arts, commerce, engineering, humanity, law, and science degrees. Universities that are included: Wits, University of Pretoria, University of Cape Town, etc., etc. As a result, you can see that this one is very specific about the eligibility requirements that you need. So for every single bursary and scholarship that you're going to be applying for, please make sure that you read it carefully so that you make sure that you determine whether you qualify for it or not. And I know for my international students, you guys are going to be asking, can you apply for these? As long as it says for South African citizen unfortunately you cannot apply for it. There are some that you find where they'll say you either need to have a permanent residence or a refugee status. If you fall under that category, then obviously you can apply. But unfortunately, if you have a study permit and it requires you to have citizenship or residence in that sort of thing, then unfortunately you cannot apply for it. So the third thing that you need to know is the type of documentation that you need to give proof of. So the first one would be your motivational letter. This is the letter that you write yourself. You highlight your personal strengths, what makes you a unique candidate, why you deserve that bursary, what you would use the bursary funding for, and how would that improve or how would that help out with your future goals and that sort of thing. I have put a link down in the description box of a tool that can help you to create the best motivational letters for yourself. If you guys would like me to do a specific video on that, definitely comment down below and let me know. The second documentation that you need is your reference letter or your recommendation letter. This is a letter that is written by someone who knows you quite well on an academic and personal level, and they can vouch for your character. That is why I mentioned in my video last week that you need to be a wholesome student, because if you're involved in your school or you're involved outside of your home, people can write a letter on your behalf to motivate why you deserve a bursary, because they know the type of character that you are, they know you're hardworking, you're authentic, you know, those type of things that will highlight and make you a very unique candidate. So please make sure that when you're choosing someone to write a reference letter for you, they know you very well, you have some sort of personal relationship with them, or you've known them for a long time, because they would be able to give you the best recommendation possible. And please also make sure that you check on the inset of the bursary. If it tells you that you need to get a letter from a lecturer or from a teacher, please make sure that you get it from a teacher, because if you get it from your pastor or that sort of thing, then it doesn't highlight what they want to see, because they want someone who is with you on a daily basis, they see you in class, they know what type of learner you are. So just make sure that you're checking what your bursary requires of you, and then you give the appropriate reference letter. And the third documentation that you might be required to provide is a curriculum vitae. So a curriculum vitae for you as a student right now, it highlights your education that you've had from primary school, the responsibilities and roles that you've taken up, whether you're a class representative, whether you're a prefect, whether you're a class captain. It also highlights extracurricular activities that you've done, such as volunteer work, such as heading up some church event or hosting an event and that sort of thing. So you need to think as someone who's going to be assessing you. If you're looking at your CV, would you understand the type of person that you are? Would you understand how you'd be a great candidate for whatever bursary that you're applying for? And also make sure that it links to whatever course that you're going to be doing, because obviously you need to compare it to that to see if you actually would be a great candidate for the career that you want to apply for. The fourth documentation that you might be required to provide is proof of financial need. So if you're applying for a bursary, like I mentioned in the beginning, it is an award that is given based on your financial need. As a result, they need proof of this financial neediness. This can come in forms of having your parents' 3 months bank statement. This is just to show them the type of income that is coming into your household. Number 5, you'll be required to provide transcripts, especially if you're applying for a scholarship. Yes, you can provide it for your bursary, but it's mostly important for your scholarship. So you need to provide your reports from grade 11 or even matric if you're currently in matric. Then they'll also require you to provide any merit awards that you've received, and if you're doing a bursary for sports, then obviously they'll require you to provide any Western Province representation, any certificate that shows your involvement in the school and that will prove how excellent you are academically or in sports. Number 6, this one is a bit tricky. Some bursaries or scholarships will require you to have an acceptance letter from the university, so that it shows proof that you have been accepted in your university, and this is why you need the financial assistance, because they'll also require you to provide a quotation of the fees that are going to be required to be paid at the university. And it's tricky because not every student is going to get an acceptance letter from the university by the time it's June. Most receive it by September, October, November, and bursaries are closing earlier than that. And I understand that. That is why I want you to be aware of this information, so that you can finish your university application as soon as possible, so that at least the university can look at your application. And the last documentation that you have to provide is preparation for an interview. Some bursaries and scholarships will require you to go into an in-person or online interview where they're going to be getting to know more about you. They'll be asking you questions such as, tell us about yourself, why do you believe you deserve the scholarship more than someone else, and that sort of thing. You can click over here. I've done a video already on interviews. It was specifically for entering into nursing school, but the principles are exactly the same, and in that video there's a link that goes through 50 questions that you might get in these type of interviews. It goes in depth into the explanation, so I highly suggest that you go watch that video over there. So the next thing that you need to know about your funding is what will be required of you after you get this bursary. So some bursaries require you to maintain your academics. So if you fail a module, you fail a year, or you go below a certain average, that bursary or scholarship might be revoked. Other bursaries might require you to work for that institution after you graduate. For example, the Western Cape Health Bursary requires you to work for 4 years after you graduate because they were sponsoring you for 4 years. So some bursaries might say you need to work for as many years as they were funding you. Others might say half. Some might require you to pay back. Please make sure that when you do get your bursary or your scholarship, you read through the contract that you're going to sign so that you're not getting yourself stuck into shady deals and stringent contracts with bursaries and institutions. So the question you've been waiting for, where do you actually find these bursaries? Well, let's first start with your prospective universities. If you go on the university website and you go under funding and fees, usually there are merit awards that you can get if you get a certain average in your final year results or even in your grade 11 results. Sometimes they might even give you a discount if you pay your fees early. So make sure that you're making use of those resources and those little savings that the university provides for you. Number two, you need to think of your prospective employer. After you graduate, what type of company are you most probably going to be working in? If you're in the health industry, you most probably can approach Clicks, Discam, Live Healthcare, Mediclinic, those type of institutions. They offer bursaries. So if you go on their websites and go under funding, scholarships, bursary, usually they will have that sort of tagline on their website. In addition to this, most professions have a union or they have a governing body that represent them in court. For example, with nursing, we have DENOSA, and DENOSA offers bursaries and scholarships to nursing students. A little T's and C's that come with this one. One, usually they'll require you to be a member of the union, or they'll require your parent to be fully paid up member of that union. So for example, if you've got someone in your family who is doing the career that you want to go into, ask them if they're under any union and if you can actually go and look at that union, if they offer any bursaries, and you can use that family member as reference for you to get that bursary. Fourth one, you can use religious affiliations. For example, the Islamic Relief Fund. There's also some for Catholic churches. So ask your pastors for the different religious affiliations that you are associated with. The fifth one, if you're going to be doing a health related course, each province provides a health bursary. So whatever province that you're in, you can go to your local clinic, local hospital, or even on the actual website of that health province. You can actually check. There's a lot of bursaries that are there. I know the Eastern Cape has one, the Western Cape has their health bursary, so you must just investigate within your province where you can find that health bursary. And lastly, you can use the tool or the website called Bursaries SA. This is a website that makes finding bursaries so easy. It provides a large pool of bursaries available in South Africa. These are grouped according to closing dates and faculty for easy reference, and it even offers advice on how to write motivational letters. So if you'd like to try it out, you can click the link down in my description box. In conclusion, please go down in the description box. I've included so many links that are going to be useful for you. Bursaries that are currently open, the Bursaries SA2, the Alan Gray, and the Western Cape Health Bursary, and so much more. And to end this off, I'd like to give you a challenge. Down in the description box, I've included a link to the possible university course that you're going to be encountering. That's tuition, the textbooks that you're going to be needing, accommodation, and so much more. And the reason why I provided this for you right now is I need you to budget what is going to be happening next year when you enter into university, because finances is a major determinant for students entering into university. Trust me, I know, I'm a testimony of that. So that's why I want you to be aware of the costs that are going to come with it, and I want you to take this list to your parents so that you guys can actually sit down, collaborate on how you're going to be funding all these things that you want. Because as a student myself, I know the type of ideas that I had in my mind about how my university experience is going to be, and reality was a little different. So it's very important that you're having these one-on-one conversations with your parents so that you can actually find out what is your financial standing, how much you are able to afford, so that you can determine ways to work around that. Maybe you need to start finding a part-time job to be able to fund your tuition fees and that sort of thing. And if you're a parent who's watching this video, or your child has sent this video to you, please be open with your kids about these issues. There's a lot of students that are getting the shock of their life when they realize the financial standing of their family. Your children are becoming adults right now. As a result, you need to be honest with them about those conversations. The journey to university is a lot about learning about yourself, your values, and a lot about learning about your financial standing as a family. So be open to all these changes and all these conversations that you're going to be having. As we're going to be going through this Road to University series, there's going to be a lot of realizations, a lot of difficult conversations that you're going to have with yourself, with your friends, with your family members. As a result, I would like you guys to start on this one. This one is simple. The further we go, it gets a bit more deep, a bit more emotional. This one is very fact-based. But anyway, let me not stress you any further. Until next week, Friday, 12 p.m. South African time, have an awesome one. Bye, guys.